All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the massively epic science fiction space opera First Contact novel by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle. It is titled The Mote in God's Eye. So, I met, being an author like I am, I get invited to different Comic-Cons and different conventions and things, and I was invited to the Dragon Con, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I got to go to an after party where a lot of famous authors were hanging out in the hotel, and I got to sit next to both Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle for the evening and kind of talk to them, get to know them a little bit. It was one of the highlights of my life. I had read some Larry Niven books before, but I had never read any of their collaborations, and I particularly enjoyed talking to Jerry Pournelle. And unfortunately, Jerry Pournelle actually died 3 or 4 months after that convention, so I was really lucky to get to meet him before he died. Larry Niven is still around, but they collaborated on some of the great science fiction epics of our time, like The Mote in God's Eye, Footfall, Lucifer's Hammer, and many more. So I'm going to start reading these and reviewing them on the channel, and I started with Mote in God's Eye. This book was written in 1974. It is probably the very first massive, epic, first contact space opera novel ever written. It's just fabulous. I just couldn't tell you how much I enjoyed this. I loved every minute of this. But before we get to the book, let's talk about the cover. Okay, the cover is all right. It's probably, we've got the spaceship MacArthur here, and this thing that's probably representative of God's Eye. Oh, it is representative of God's Eye, exactly. So you see the red dot is the big, huge, red supergiant star. The yellow dot in front of it is the planet Caledonia, I believe, which you can see, and they call that the mote in God's eye. The red supergiant is God's eye. The planet that you see in front of it is the mote in God's eye. That's where that comes from. This is where the title comes from. Anyway, so the thing that's cool about this novel is we get a timeline right at the beginning. So this takes place far, far, far in our future, in the year 3017. So literally like 1,000 years from now. But there's a timeline that starts in 1969, and it tells you everything that happened up until 3017 in our what do you call it? Our future history, as according to this book, anyway. One of the things I love when authors from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, like I said, this was written in 1974, so written in the early 70s. I love when they try to predict what our future might be like. And in the year 3017, there is a commander of a battleship that pulls out his pocket computer. And he talks to it, and he talks on it. He uses it as like a little pocket computer and a walkie-talkie, all in one. Oh, in 1974, that would have been unheard of. Unheard of. Well, now we just call it our cell phone. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. So they kind of got that one right. This is about an alien first contact. So the United States and Russia, in our day and age, from 1969-ish to like the year 2050 or whatever, United States and Russia, space exploration goes out. They form like this so all the star systems that they're starting to go through, the United States and Russia sort of are the leaders in this venture, and they start this interstellar navy, which is based upon the old British Navy of old, where all the people on the battleships are male. It's very aristocratic. People only move up in rank depending upon who their father was. So we've got this going, and it's sort of a semi-feudalistic society too. And there's still Christianity, but there is a new religion, an upstart religion called the Church of Him, and they worship this whole deal with the red supergiant and the mote in God's eye. And so it's kind of like this thing. But then all the interstellar planets that the humans have went and colonized, still no alien. They still have not found aliens. 1,000 years from now, venturing off into space, colonizing thousands of planets, big, huge navies of battleships, still no aliens. Well, then all of a sudden, what happens? An alien ship comes sailing in, and the guy Blaine, Captain Blaine or whatever his name, he kills the alien. There's only one alien on, and he kills him. And so now they've got this alien that they're kind of doing an autopsy on. This is the first one that they can do an autopsy on. And it's that kind of stuff where page and page after them looking over this alien that has been killed, it's like, why couldn't you capture it alive, Blaine? We could have talked to it. But no, he killed it. And they're dissecting it. And the description of them dissecting this dead alien that's laid out on a slab, just cool. That's why we like reading science fiction. We're getting, not only are we getting First Contact in this book, but a lot of David Weber-esque, Honor Harrington type, space Navy battle stuff too. And it's just great. And a lot of it reminds me a lot of Battlestar Galactica too, in that these battleships, they've also got littler ships that kind of go out, like Battlestar Galactica had the, the Vipers and the Raiders. I can't remember what their ships were called. But anyway, we've got all that, and then we've got the alien contact, and then we decide more aliens kind of show up, and they're nicknamed Motes. Or Motes, after the mote in God's eye. It all ties together. There's a lot of stuff about religion in this, and what do we do with religion once we're 1,000 years from now, and we've got an interstellar navy. We're out in the universe, just thousands of planets colonized. What happens to God? Where's Christianity at that point? Who is Jesus? What does it even matter at this point? And then we get this new church called the Church of Him, which worships this sort of iconic super red giant with this planet in front of it and the mote in God's eye. And then the first aliens show up. We call them Motes, after the mote in God's eye. And then they decide to go off to the alien planet. And I won't get anything too much beyond that, because we're about a quarter of the way into the book now with what I've given you. And it just gets cooler and cooler, and they discover different things about the aliens and the religions and outer space and all this. Is a very kind of interesting look. One of the very, very first ever looks at big time space opera melded with First Contact. And it's probably one of the first books ever written like that, and it's 1974, and I was super fucking impressed. So I will give the Mote in God's Eye a 9.5 out of 10. And I can't wait to read, Lucifer's Hammer and Footfall and a few of the other things these guys have done. I've got some Larry Niven books like Ring World and Integral Trees and stuff. But anyway, Mote in God's Eye, 9.5 out of 10. This is a damn fine space opera / First Contact novel.